Howdy, y'all. My name is Price. I'm coming at you with some more Her Story. So, last time, the bomb dropped. I mean, we found out what happened. We know what happened in that moment. I should have set that one to my session. Oh, well, I know how I can find it again if I need to. But we're trying to figure out now what else happened. I think one thing we want to figure out is what happened with the baby. Or at least because they keep talking about the baby is what matters. The baby this, the baby that. But I think there's so much references to babies and pregnancies and whatnot throughout this whole thing because it's such a running theme that it's hard to pinpoint exactly how to get at that. So let us... Oh, under the lawyer thing, we actually have one more. I didn't even notice that one last time. Let's check that out.
Can I leave? Are you going to arrest me? No. They'd laugh you out of the building. A lawyer would make mincemeat of you.
Ooh, when was that? So that was just a little bit before this. So this is like she marches out of that part of the interview, and that's the end of that part. And then the next time she comes back is admission time. So she must have been accused somewhere around here. Or at least like they were starting to realize like, okay, something's going on here. Maybe that was the straw. Maybe that's what finally made her decide like, okay, guess I'm going to have to just come clean about this. Okay, let's search for baby. All right, I figured we'd seen all that. Eve, baby? Maybe? No. Okay. Hannah, baby. Well, there's Hannah, but we've seen that one. Okay. Pregnant. Yeah, I figured we'd already checked for that. Pregnancy. Yeah. All right, well, let's see what she says here about this.
Hannah had a miscarriage.
Search
This
for
was
that.
late in the pregnancy and it left her infertile. Felt like the universe had corrected its course. We were aligned again. But Hannah and Simon were still living with his parents. They were married. Simon had a job at the Glaziers now. Eric had given him a full-time position after he left school.
And then, which one is this one? So this one's here. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, well, let's search for the miscarriage then. Maybe that'll give us something else. Okay, there's a couple. Let's see what she has to say here. Because I remember now that Eve had the STD or something that had given her, that had also made her infertile. So maybe we could also search for infertility. It's so many words.
They'd gone to bed feeling ill, thinking it was flu or something. The neighbour called me, I had to use my key to let them in. We found them dead in their bed. And they'd been there for days. No one had noticed. Just awful. It was so soon after my miscarriage. The worst year of my life. I'd been so happy to get married, and after that it was just like, fuck.
Yikers. Okay. But if she was infertile and Eve is infertile, then how could she be pregnant later on? And so one of them is actually not infertile. And so that's the confusing part, right? But they said the baby is what matters. So is it Hannah was pregnant at the time, or is it Eve is pregnant at the time? Man, this is just, it keeps getting weirder and weirder, and I'm starting to forget things now.
Yeah. I mean, I was infertile. Thought I was. They told me I was infertile after the miscarriage because of complications.
Okay. Oh, we got a little thing pop up. How's it going down there? You done? Oh, I guess we found out enough for the game to think that we're done, right? Not yet. What? Oh, that's all you can type is either no or yes. Okay, I'm just going to close it for now. We're going to search for some more stuff, but I do think that that's like the signal that you've completed the game. But we're still going. We got some questions to answer.
I think it was that time, the first time at the house, in his bed, that I got pregnant. Amazing, right? This fucking magic sperm. And they say lightning doesn't strike twice. I didn't tell him. I missed 3 periods. I had pretty irregular periods anyway, but 3. I had always thought we were infertile. Both of us. I didn't tell him. Just waited. Hannah and I were meeting for our birthday, and I told her because I thought she would be happy for us both. I think she was.
Okay. So, which one's this one? So this is here. And this is right before she starts saying everything. So, okay. Now we kind of know what happened. At some point, Eve saw Simon again. Okay, so at the beginning around here somewhere, maybe it was around here, we know that she was talking about Hannah having the miscarriage and becoming infertile, that things had realigned, right? That they were the same again. And so it suddenly seemed like the world was going to be normal. And then, at some point, Eve sleeps with Simon, and even though she's supposed to be infertile because the STD that she got forever ago, all of a sudden, boom, she's pregnant again, and now their world is thrown back into chaos because this isn't how things are supposed to work, right? They're supposed to be reflections. They're supposed to be the same. And so then now it's Hannah who's the one who's jealous of Eve. Whereas through the rest of the time, throughout this whole story of their past, right, it's been Eve who was jealous of Hannah. Hannah, the girl across the street, Hannah with everything, right? And then she just lived in the attic. And then now all of a sudden, things have gotten turned on their feet. Eve can give Simon what Hannah can't. And that is probably what started the whole path down her, Hannah kind of going, losing it a little bit. Deciding like, okay, I want to dress up like Eve. I want to pretend to be Eve because Eve is the one that Simon wants to be with. Oh, and then Simon said that Simon gave her the mirror. So they must have told Simon about the baby. Oh, I remember us learning about the birthday. I had assumed that it had to be with Hannah, but maybe it was actually with Eve. Okay, I'm gonna add this one to session because this is a good one. It's got a lot in there. Let's search for. Let's go back to the birthday. See a couple of these instances. Forget exactly what they're about.
A week or so ago, it would have been the Saturday before my birthday. I get like that on the weekends, have a lie-in, then want to get up and blitz the house.
Okay, the Saturday before her birthday. Let's see, how about told Simon? Alright, it's 2 where they told Simon about the baby.
Then she told me she wanted to help more. She said I should move in with her. She would come clean with Simon about me. I was family, I couldn't have a baby in a bedsit. I told her I didn't want to tell Simon. Told her to wait for the time being.
It's all coming back now. Okay, which one is this one? So this one's right here. So yeah, it's just like it's all, balling out of control. And then if we play this one.
It's like I told you before, I drove. I took the car and drove. I don't have my own car, but I have a spare set of keys. I just drove north. I wanted to think, put some space between me and them. Everything I told you before is true. I stopped at Glasgow. I was tired, exhausted. I pulled out and I hit a car. My car was okay, but I was worried about the baby, so I went to A&E to get the okay. Everything was fine. Slept in the car. When I woke, I tried to call Hannah from a payphone. She wasn't answering. And then I decided to drive back. I had decided that she was more important to me than Simon.
So I think that was the next one. Oh, that was way over here. Okay. So here and here. So she's going to tell Simon all about it. She drives away. I don't even know where to look. Because this is... I'm getting the story now, and I'm just trying to figure out what else I can glean from this. right? What happened to Simon's parents? So, like, his parents. I know that she referenced his parents a couple of times.
Yeah, we were 17. It was a nice wedding, people said. Simon looked very handsome in the photos. His parents paid for everything, but he's an only child, so it was important to them. It was what they called a shotgun wedding, but if you looked at the photos, you couldn't tell. The dress was beautiful. It looked like Princess Diana's. The train wasn't quite as long, though. There's a great photo of the bridesmaid helping to carry it out of the car.
The look on her face and everything like that, it's so perfect because she's seen that photo. Like, that's how she knows about it, because she wasn't wearing the dress, because that's Eve. She's got the tattoo and everything. Okay. His parents dead. Died. Death. Synonyms. Gone. What happened to his parents? Okay, so what I want to find out is what happened to the baby. Did she give birth? Adoption. Adopted. Because I don't think she's had the baby since now, right? Like throughout this process. So it's all about, okay, so what happened after the mirror situation? That's what I want to figure out. Just looking at all my little notes that I have down here because I'm having trouble figuring out where to go next. So, who found the body? Who found the body? Who found the body?
It happened very quickly. We hardly had the watch. That was my touch to make sure the alibi stuck.
Alibi. Okay. We know about that. There's a bunch about the watch. But how is that an alibi? How is the watch her alibi? I don't get how that fits into the alibi. Let's hear this one again.
He was wearing a shirt, with a blue turtleneck shirt and jeans. He has a watch. It's a really nice one. That was a gift from his boss, Eric. He had his coat, a long grey duffel coat, like Paddington Bear. He would have taken that with him. It's not in the house.
So it was part of the description. Did the watch show up at some point, or? I don't know. I mean, we're starting to get to that point where it's like I feel like I know everything that happened, and so it's hard to figure out what to then say in order to find more stuff. I'm kind of like I'm locked in on this, so I'm trying to think outside the box. Like, what's a different avenue that we could go down in order to learn some other thing? So it's like I want to know more about Eve. I want to know more. I don't know. I want to know about the pregnancy. Carrie, baby, maybe. I just want to see if we've seen all the entries. So there's 10 entries about pregnant Eve. It's not going to be in there. Okay. Well, let's refresh this and see where we're at. Okay, we went all the way back there at some point. Let's look through some of these, some of our faves. I know I'm sorry that this is all just like the same stuff over and over again, but like I really can't think of more words to write down. Like I put down cleaner because she talked about having the cleaner come in. So like that's something maybe I could look at. Nope, nothing there. What else do I have written down here? Memory, because we talked about one of them having a bad memory. Nothing. The hospital. She went to the A&E or whatever she called it. A&E, I don't know what that means. yeah, I mean, there was the move. And that was all about they wanted her to move in, right? So that she could be with them. So both of them. Both. The word both. Let's see what she has to say about both. It's just a simple
When
word.
you've been married for 10 years, stuff accumulates. We could argue about anything. And he's so nice. That doesn't help. He tries to smooth things over, and that just makes it worse. We're both passive-aggressive, so we never normally argue directly about anything.
Again, whenever she says both, I never know if she's talking about her and Simon or if she's talking about her and Eve, you know?
I did. Well, we met when we were 17, both working at the Glaziers.
So they both worked at the Glaziers. Interesting. Didn't know that's where they met.
A mobile phone? Yeah. Well, they have one for the Glaziers, but it's only for work. I can't remember the number. Oh, it's in the kitchen. I saw it plugged into its charging cradle.
Okay.
No. Everyone loved Simon. He's a glazier who doesn't have much money. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, but you know. You know exactly what happened. Okay. Well, I mean, at this point, looking at the time, looking at that, you know, we're not really getting much further into this, finding anything else, and I just don't know how to go about making anything else really pop up without like really sitting here for a while and kind of like digging into it. And I just don't think that it's necessarily worth your time for me to do that, honestly. One thing I do want to search for, because I think this is hilarious if it's the case, I just do want to search for her story. Okay, so if you were playing this game and you typed in her story as your first option, because that is the name of the game, and so like that's something that you'd be like, oh yeah, sure, her story. Let's search for her story, right?
Her story is that she'd waited for him to come back. She put on my wig, some of my clothes, pretended to be me. They talked. She'd enjoyed being me. He said he wanted to be with me. Then he took out a present, another mirror, just like the one he'd given her earlier. That unique present. She went crazy, smashed the mirror. They argued, screamed. He hit her. So she grabbed a piece of the mirror and just swung it round. She cut his throat clean open. She'd only meant to scare him off.
If you typed in her story as the first thing that you searched for, because it's the title of the game, right? Like that's duh. Like why wouldn't you try that? You would get what happened right away. How crazy is that? And it took us this long in order for me to get to that point. Oh man. One thing I do want to search for is jealous. Anything about being jealous? Ah.
Hannah was so smitten with Simon. She started getting jealous. Didn't want to share. Even the first date. We went to see Tom Cruise at the Old Odeon. We both went. Kept changing places in the toilet. We only had the one best dress, so we had to keep swapping clothes. Must have thought we had terrible bladder problems. The next date, it was my turn. At the end, I let him kiss me. But that was it. We didn't want another card on our hands, and the Ouija board had said to hold back. After that, it was Hannah's turn, and she slept with him. Broke the rules. Deliberately broke the rules. She wanted to be the first to sleep with him. I mean, that's when she got pregnant. From that one time.
Oh my goodness. Right as I'm like about to throw in the towel, we get so much information. Carl. Who the hell's Carl? I don't remember hearing about Carl. It sounds like that was the first person that they both dated together, All right? That's going to tell us a lot about their past. B, something about the Ouija board. So they did some Ouija board shenanigans to see what they should or should not do. The whole sharing thing is something to look into. My goodness. All right, this might be like just a longer episode because I do think that I need to wrap up this series now. But let's dive back in a little bit. We'll keep going for a little while. So, who is Carl? Tell me about Carl. 5 entries found. Perfect.
Was he my first? No need to be so coy. No, he wasn't my first. That would have been Carl. He was a local boy in a band. He was a bit of a shit, but he was sexy. We were 15.
Okay, you're 15. You met Carl.
No, I was 15. Carl was older.
Ah, she slipped up there.
17.
We were 15. Her and Hannah.
I was really into him, regardless of how he actually behaved. Lots of drunken teenage sex. We did it in a church once. It's stupid. So he got tired of us and we split up after about 6 months. It was sad, but those early experiences, they help you realise who's really important to you, you know? Family.
Ah, that's so clever. He got tired of us, as in the relationship. No, he got tired of Eve and Hannah. Ah, that's such good writing. Okay, and then she said family, like the way that she just hammered on the word family. I don't know if we ever searched for the word family, but maybe we'll search for the word family. Who knows? Let's keep on this Carl train, though. What are we learning about Carl?
Family. So, Carl fucked off, and then there were other boys here and there, and then Simon.
And then Simon. Okay.
Differences? She's a better driver than me. She passed the test for us. I tried to take it and nearly crashed the car. Learned that you can't rely on confidence to get you through everything. She is the shy one. She was especially shy around boys. If Hannah liked a boy, I would have to pursue him. It was that way with Carl. Hannah met him first. She had such a crush. I let him take my virginity after a night that his band had played at. It got difficult. When I was with Carl, we would have sex, but Hannah couldn't let him see she was a virgin. She had lots of excuses. After a while, we decided that I should take Hannah's virginity. It's not that different to a bruise, pulling a tooth, a graze. We used a hairbrush.
Yikes.
After that, we took it in turns, though. I was always the one who seduced the boys. Until Simon.
Interesting. And then with Simon, they said they wanted it to be different, right? And so that's why they didn't sleep with him until finally Hannah did. And that changed everything. She got pregnant. It turned everything on its head. Suddenly their world became completely different. Interesting. All right, let's search for family, and then we'll search for the Ouija board. I want to know about the Ouija board. What you got here?
Yeah, when I was at school. I worked part-time in the front shop. It was sort of an extended family thing. My dad used to work there, my mum worked there before I was born. I took care of paperwork, filing, typing out invoices, that kind of thing. It was a good job for a girl back then. I didn't work a till or anything, though. I was quite shy, so I wouldn't have liked to have worked a till.
She's the shy one. Okay, all right. Let's look at that Ouija board. Cool, I want to hear about this.
When beautiful people died, we always felt like it was a sign. You remember Princess Grace? Grace
Beautiful
Kelly?
people died.
She died in a car crash the year before we met Simon. We used a Ouija board to speak to her, and that gave us the power to find him. That's what we thought then. that people who died tragically leave some kind of magic behind. We used to share dreams. We used to wake up and write them down in our diaries immediately and compare them.
Interesting. Interesting. It didn't tell us as much as I wanted to know, but still it's something. All right, how about sharing?
It lasted about 6 months. I tried to carry on, but everything was different. Hannah insisted I not pretend to be her around Simon, let alone sleep with him. We didn't share him like the others. The rules had changed. Me living in the attic had become weird in a way it hadn't been before.
Where did that fall in the list here? It's there. So she came and lived with them. So like there was a period of time where Simon knew about both. Interesting. Room, maybe? I want to hear about Eve's room, essentially, is what I was thinking. Like, if I can get it somewhere about, like, when they gave her a room, a place where she could stay. That's what I was thinking.
Okay. I parked up on the street. It was busy, so I had to park down the end of the road. Walked up, knocked on the door, no answer. I took my keys out of my bag and unlocked the door. The main lock was unlocked. You can tell because the key doesn't turn when you try to turn it to the left. I walked in. Simon's coat wasn't on the peg. I couldn't see his shoes in the shoe rack. I shouted out. I walked straight into the kitchen because he usually sits in there to have a cup of tea and read his paper, but he wasn't there. I touched the kettle. It was cold. I looked quickly in the living room. Nothing. So I walked upstairs to the bedroom and he wasn't there. I didn't search for him because it was pretty clear he wasn't there. I had a shower. The phone rang whilst I was in the shower. I didn't answer it. I think it was Eric. Then I was just exhausted. So I lay down on the bed and I fell asleep, though I didn't mean to. I woke up a couple of hours later and I was surprised to see no one in the bed next to me. And then I remembered where I was and what had happened. That's when Eric called again. This time I spoke to him. Then I called Doug and Eleanor. And then I decided to come and see you. That enough?
All right, Doug and Eleanor. Are those Simon's parents, maybe?
Okay, you got me. I'll confess. We were there. It was a dirty weekend. Simon was going to expense it, pretend it was a business trip. I used a made-up name. We stayed at the hotel, had room service, didn't leave the room, had a great view of the river, and you could hear the church bells. Like you said, it was very romantic.
Like you said, it was very romantic.
It was supposed to be a secret. Just because Simon is dead doesn't mean I have to give up all his secrets. It doesn't have anything to do with what happened to Simon. No one murdered my husband because he cheated his expenses for a romantic weekend in Oxford.
Interesting. Oxford. We'll have to look that one up. So many things!
That night, we talked, then I said goodbye. Then next week I was singing the bar again and there he was. And again the next week, he offered to buy me a meal. I told him I had already eaten, and so we got chips and ate them on the beach instead. When we said goodbye, he asked me to kiss him. Romantic.
Interesting. So when he would go and see Eve singing at the bar, maybe? Okay, before we go down that line, which I'm now realizing this is going to be like a double long episode, but whatever, right? It's the finale, so we're just going to go as deep as we can in a single one, because I need to put some space on that calendar, you know what I'm saying? So, singing at the bar, but let's first search for Doug and Eleanor. Because I think that those are Simon's parents, which might help us find out what happened to them.
Yeah. I've been round to Doug and Eleanor's and they're very worried. I feel sorry for them.
Okay.
I hoover, I dust every week. Maybe less. I once asked Eleanor how often I should dust, and she said, if people ask, tell them you do it once a week, but every few weeks is okay. I think she was just trying to make me feel better. I mean, when I was there, she was hoovering every day. Ran an ordered house. You know how that generation is, putting on a brave front. She has secret stashes of cigarettes. Doug doesn't even know she smokes. When I was there, I saw her. She has these sort of porcelain vases, ornamental, next to the Reader's Digest books. Cigarettes inside. And she still has them. I mean, last time I was there, I looked in a vase. There was a fresh pack. I mean, all those years of marriage, and she still has a secret like that.
Kind of like having a secret twin sister that lives in the attic? Hannah? Goodness.
1984 was an awful year in the end. We were living at Doug and Eleanor's. I lost the baby at the end of spring and my parents died in the summer. It was a hot summer, a heat wave. So when they discovered the bodies, it was just awful. Because of the circumstances, them dying together like that, they brought in a lot of police. The forensic entomologist. I had to look that up. It was because of the heat. It was just awful.
Forensic entomologist. I think entomology... Let me think. Is that bugs? I don't know. It's a study. I think that it probably has to do with the decaying of the bodies, basically. Okay. We'll search for Eleanor, but it looks like they always say Doug and Eleanor in the same one. Oh, well, here's one, just Eleanor.
Yes. I speak with Eleanor at least once a day. Not that there's anything much to say. It's more just...
Oh. So there she spilt the coffee. Okay. Let's see if there's anything that follows up from spilling the coffee. Well, that gives us a whole bunch of options here. Maybe we'll come back for that one, because I do want to go back to like singing at the bar. So, oh, there's two more here. Okay.
So I moved out. Got a small bed sit. Got my tattoo to mark the occasion. I was singing in a bar in the evenings, so I had some money, enough money to cover my rent. And I've been doing something similar ever since. I haven't put down any roots. I don't exist.
She doesn't exist, so maybe that's part of why she feels so bulletproof in this case and everything like that. Like, she can just admit whatever. She's like, what are you gonna do to arrest me? Because I don't exist, right? She probably doesn't have a birth certificate. She probably doesn't have like any kind of identifying information. So even though she's sitting there telling them what she does, if she disappears, they can't really get her, right? She doesn't exist in the world of records.
He saw me singing one of my shows. Pure chance. Not sure I remember what he was even doing there. Afterwards, I had a drink at the bar and he came over and we got talking. I knew who he was. Obviously I knew who he was. But he didn't know who I was. He was fascinated by the likeness. He guessed my name from my tattoo. Told me it was a palindrome, like that would impress me. I enjoyed talking to him.
Oh, they're both palindromes.
It was amazing to be able to sit and interact and talk to him after all this time. He didn't tell me he was married. I'm not sure what he was thinking. He later told me it was like he was dreaming. A waking dream.
Wow. I mean, we've gotten most of this information down here. And I'm feeling like we got the main story. I'll go back to the coffee thing and we'll watch a couple of those clips. But I think we've just seen kind of enough to be able to really summarize what happened, what the whole story was that was going on. So I feel pretty comfortable ending the series there. Obviously, there's tons of other footage for us to find out if we really wanted to delve deep into this. But I think we found the meat. Like, we found the stuff that is relevant, right? But let's go ahead and read these and see if these say anything, right? I want a coffee. Give me a coffee,
Black
probably.
coffee, thanks.
Black coffee.
No sugar. Sweet enough as it is.
I called it. I freaking called it. Hannah takes her coffee with sugar. We see her stirring it all the freaking time. Every time she has coffee, she's stirring that sucker. Eve, black coffee. Oh, it's perfect. That's perfect.
About 8 years back, it was a present to myself. I shouldn't even be drinking coffee with the baby. It's been hard trying to give it up. I think they say you can have 1 cup.
Oh, is she wearing the t-shirt because that's when she spilled the coffee? Maybe that's what it is. She spilled the coffee and then she switched to the t-shirt and then that's what reveals the tattoo. So that's when they're like, oh, you got a tattoo. When did you get that tattoo? And then maybe they went back and saw in the videos like, wait, we have footage of her with not a tattoo. What's going on here? And then they started to press more on what's with the tattoo.
No. I've had enough coffee for today, thanks. Glass of water.
Gotcha. Oh, and I got an achievement down there. You
Coffee, I
can't see
guess.
it.
Milk and sugar.
Milk and sugar. All right, so maybe the hair is not always the indicator because milk and sugar there, it's like, okay, we got coffee black, we got coffee, milk, and sugar. What's that telling us? It's crazy. So I think this one is maybe Hannah. Interesting. Let's search for tattoo just really quickly. I want to see if she says anything more about it.
No, he doesn't have any tattoos. He has a scar down here near his stomach, past his hip. Cut himself with some glass. That was before, a long time ago. He looks just like the photo. He's not got his glasses on here though. He takes them off for the camera. But he needs them to see properly, you know. He has to read a newspaper or a menu in a restaurant. Not book so much, or watching TV. He likes TV. Oh, my tattoo. I got it to express my individuality. It's an apple and a snake.
An apple and a snake. Eve. That's where her name comes from. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Okay, let's refresh this just to see. Yeah, we've filled out a whole bunch more of this. We've done more than 50%. That's what that little, I said I got an achievement. I think that was what that one was for. But, okay. I think I'm comfortable with calling this case closed. I believe the chit-chat little pop-up lets me know that it is. I may on my own go back and try and like search through this more and learn a little bit more, but I feel like as far as for the series goes, I feel like that's probably a good enough place to stop. And there are plenty of other Let's Plays out there if you want to see every little piece of this game, but I feel like I need to just move on to something else for you guys to see. But thank you for watching me play this game. I enjoyed playing it. Let's do a quick rundown. So what happened? So long ago, a baby is born, but really 2 babies are born. But the, what do you call them? The nurse, the lady, the midwife, that's the word. The midwife, kept one of the babies. Not sure why she didn't just give them both to the mother and just say like, hey, you've got twins, but she kept one of the babies. So that baby is Eve. Hannah is the baby that stayed with the parents. Eventually, when they were children, they met and kind of started to understand what was going on when they were very young. Before, at least when they were 15, because we know that's when they started to date. Carl was when they were 15, so it must have been when they were even younger. And she talked about it earlier, about seeing her reflection across the street and everything like that. So when they met each other, that was a big event. And then they started to impersonate one another. Eve eventually started to live in the attic, probably after Florence died, if I remember correctly. And so Eve would be in the attic, Hannah would be, the daughter living with the parents, but then they would back and forth, switching between one another. Eventually, they meet Simon. So up until the point when they meet Simon, it's always been the case that Eve is the aggressive one. She goes out and gets the boys, and Hannah is the shy one. And so they would switch back and forth and kind of like attract the boys that way. But then when it came to Simon, that's when it switched. That's when Hannah was the one who became more of the sexually aggressive individual because they decided not to do what they had done in the past. And she got pregnant. And that's when things started to go crazy because it was a shotgun wedding. So then Simon and Hannah got married. Obviously, Simon didn't know about Eve, but how were they going to have Eve live with them and not have Simon know? And so then they went back to what it was before they had been together. So Eve and Hannah were together for so long. They became so enmeshed with one another. They became so important to one another. And yet, eventually, they were separated once again. I think what happened at one point. So Hannah loses the baby. That's sad. Eve also goes through this whole period of kind of, okay, Hannah's gone. What am I going to do? So she starts getting really promiscuous and going out there. She gets the STD. She thinks she's infertile now as well. And then she felt like that's when things had been realigned, right? And then I think Eve killed their parents. I think that's what happened. Because that set in motion the chain of events so that Hannah came back into Eve's life and they started going through the same kind of situation of impersonating one another and everything like that over and over again. But she still had her thing on the side where she was singing, wearing the blonde wig and everything like that. And it was still primarily Simon and Hannah together. But eventually, once Simon came to the bar, saw Eve there by chance singing, was so taken by her because she looked so much like his wife, but she had blonde hair, so it couldn't be his wife. It's someone else. It's got to be. She's got a tattoo. It's got to be someone else. And so they start talking and everything like that, and they eventually sleep together. And of course, Eve gets pregnant. Well, Eve's got to tell Hannah. And then Hannah's reaction is, we've got to tell Simon, right? We've got to become a family. We've got to come together and everything like that. And eventually this gets overwhelming for Eve at some point. She feels like she has to just go run away for a little bit. And when she runs away, that's when Hannah impersonates Eve, thinking that Simon likes Eve more than he likes her because of the mirror gift that he got Eve, which showed this intention and interest of Simon wanting to be with her, and that's what sends Hannah into a rage, right? She starts a fight. Simon hits her, right? And then in retaliation, she swings out wildly and accidentally kills Simon. They decide to hide the bodies in the basement, and they realize, okay, we have to use our twin thing to our advantage and try and get the cops to leave us alone, right? To just completely dismiss us by having that alibi of Eve being out in the north and hitting the car and all of that stuff, right? And so that's what happened. Man, what a crazy story, and what a crazy game, and how cool is it? This is such an interesting style of game. This detective story that requires you to kind of dig deep into it. But anyways, now that we've summed it all up, let's click on this chit-chat thing, and let's let this person know, SB, know that, yes, we are done. Enter message. Oh, can I? Oh, call. There we go. Hey, you done? Yes. Good. So, you think you understand why your mother did what she did? Oh! We're the daughter. So this is years later. We're the daughter of Eve and Simon. Let's just search for the name Sarah.
I would have been a good mother. I was young, but I would have been a good mother. She was a girl, by the way, the baby. We were going to call her Sarah. Simon wanted to call her Ava after his nana, but I didn't want her to have a symmetrical name.
Wow. So Hannah was going to name their first child Sarah, and that's what Eve eventually ended up naming the child that they had later on. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's just search for the name Ava, just because we can. I'm addicted. I have to keep searching for things. It's probably only in that clip, yeah. Okay, y'all. I think we've learned everything we need to know. I think it's time to log off, and it's probably going to end this. So I'm going to click this thing, but first I'm going to say thank you all for watching. If you liked your style, please be sure to give this video a like, a favorite, and subscribe to the channel. My name has been Price, and I will see y'all next time.